Hi there, I'm Matthew Lester from the Rhodes Business School, and I'm here to talk about MBAs in the world post the financial crisis of 2008-2009, because a lot has changed. So let's start off this story by going back to Milton Friedman in 1962, where he penned some famous lines. He said, "There is one and only one social responsibility of business: to use its resources and engage in activities designed to increase its profits." Now that gives everybody open season to go out there and make profit irrespective of cost to society. And so we got the image of MBAs being people big in business, made massive salaries, and you studied an MBA almost purely to advance your career. Well, that's changed somewhat today. We see that the likes of Thatcher and Reagan back in the 80s loved Milton Friedman. But it had its faults. We saw the disaster of Enron in the early 2000s. That was followed by the Lehman Brothers disaster that precipitated the financial crisis. And even today, we see the likes of Google, Starbucks, and eBay in the media, not because they've done something illegal, but because they are not being socially responsible. We even have Sir Philip Green, an absolute hero in British business for years and years and years. But in recent times, because he hasn't looked after the pensioners of his businesses, people are pursuing his yacht all over the Mediterranean, trying to hold him accountable. What's changed? Well, in business today, we have the stakeholder. The stakeholder is like the elephant in the room. He doesn't own the business. All he wants from the business is a fair deal. If he wants a sip out of the pool. And this has changed the way that we look at business. So how does this fit in with your career? Well, you may have started off with a bachelor's degree. Then you have the specialization route. You can proceed on to your honors year or do a professional bachelor's degree over 4 years. Then would come masters, and then would become your PhD or doctorate. Now, when you look at that, that is staying within the same field. And a lot of people, when they get to the end of their bachelor's degree or the end of their honors year, they say, "I've had enough of specialization. I'm not really that into research. I don't really want to continue." And so they stop. But there is an opportunity at this point to diversify. This is the point at which some people make some long-term mistakes. Students are simply not aware that at the end of their bachelor's degree, the option exists to change streams to a career in business. This is achieved by spending a 4th year doing the higher diploma in enterprise management, followed by an MBA, and then potentially a doctorate. And MBAs have a huge amount to offer in the field of how new business is conducted. So in the old days, we looked at profits only. If you want, we looked at an efficiency spectrum. But today, society is demanding that business looks at its social spectrum. Is what they are doing morally wrong or unfair or inequitable? Or are they doing the right thing? And we start measuring on these spectrums. And if we're clever with PowerPoint, hey, we can flip them all over and look for best practice. So what we are seeing is that the old style of business, looking for total efficiency, put some characters there like Trump or David Cameron, the former Prime Minister of the United Kingdom. People are saying, well, bully for you, chum, you made some money, but what was the cost to society? Now we see new characters emerging, new superstars. Thomas Piketty in his book, Capital in the 21st Century, is a good example. Another fine example is Bernie Sanders and his run for nomination as the Democratic candidate in the US elections. We don't know how this is going to proceed, but what we are saying is, if you are morally wrong and unfair and you're totally efficient, that is worst practice. The benchmark in business is that you are doing things that are morally benign and also profitable. However, the best practice in business today is a world where we are efficient in making profits, but we are also morally justifiably right and fair. So the world of business has to work on the basis of Am I not only legal, but also morally right and fair? And am I also profitable? That leaves a small corner of the spectrum for what constitutes legal and best practice business today. That's what we are striving for in the MBA programs. So the rationale behind an MBA is to seek for leadership of successful organizations in a competitive business environment. We are looking for the pursuit of managerial and organizational excellence. Now, how do we do that? We've moved a long way off the idea of MBAs just being about the pursuit of profits. So, in a program, we are looking first of all at economy. Sustainable organizations require managers who understand and relate to the needs, interests, and expectations of shareholders. Shareholders are still critically important. We've still got to make money. But we've also got to bring into this equation ethics. In other words, balancing the demands of shareholders against the expectations of stakeholders. Or in short, how much profit are you making versus the true cost to society of making it? Then comes the ecology. Managers of today need to look at the world in an integrated, holistic, and critical way. And then finally comes equity. Organizations only operate effectively if their leaders know and understand fundamental management practices and functions. Now we have to put that all into a pinwheel which interlocks into what business is all about today and what an MBA is all about today. We are saying we have to have core management and functions, we have to have responsible leadership and governance, we have to have the business and moral case for sustainability, and finally we have to have thought management and research. Those are the fundamental values of the Rhodes Business School. That's what we are out to achieve in delivering our MBA. So now we say, right, I'm into that, I would like to get onto an MBA. Now in the past it was quite easy to get into an MBA, but the admission requirements have changed. The Department of Higher Education has insisted that to enroll on an MBA, you have to have achieved the National Qualification Framework Level 8 to get in. So we say we get that by either doing an honours year or a 4-year professional degree. Obviously, if you've achieved a master's or a PhD, then you have already achieved that. So at that level, if you can show that you have work experience, you are immediately admitted onto an MBA program. The problem for many is that they do not have NQF8. So what we have to do is say there has to be a bridging year to get onto an MBA program where people only have a 3-year bachelor's degree. So they can proceed to do an honours year in their normal course of studies or go higher up the scale. Or they can diversify when they get their bachelor's degree. And they do that by enrolling on a part-time PDEM program. So that is a 1-year program that gets you your PDEM level 8, and then you enroll on an MBA program. Let's see what an MBA consists of. In terms of the higher qualifications framework, an MBA is 180 course credits. A course credit represents 10 notional hours of commitment, so we are looking effectively at a 1,800 hour commitment spread over 2.5 years. If you want to do a calculation on that, it works out at roughly 14.4 hours per week for 2.5 years. And that is quite a commitment to undertake. Make no mistake in that. How's it done? Well, the study components of an MBA at the Rhodes Business School work in study blocks. So we start in January of year 1, where you arrive at Rhodes University for a 10-day teaching block, where we have orientation, economics, sustainability, and financial skills. You then go away and come back in June, where you would do academic skills, governance, and leadership. Towards the end of the year, we have teaching block 3, which introduces people to management, financial management, and people management. That's your first year. In the second year, there are 3 more teaching blocks. The first one, teaching block 4 in the MBA program, covers research, quantitative decision making, project management, or sustainability law. Then in the middle of the year, getting towards the end of it now, you can do management accounting and operations management with an elective to do climate change or entrepreneurship. And then in the final teaching block, you will do strategic management, ethical organizations, environmental economics, or knowledge management. That gets you through the modules of the Rhodes Business School MBA. In the final year, you will produce your research report, which is due by the 1st of July. A typical day when you are at Rhodes starts at 8 o'clock in the morning. We do 2.5 hours work before tea, then another long session before lunch. We do give our students quite an extended lunch break, and then another long session in the afternoon. We also provide homework that has got to be done overnight. You are required to work in syndicates. That's an integral part of an MBA. It will take up about 1/3 of your contact time while you are at the university. You are generally not required to meet with your fellow students outside of teaching blocks. One has to learn cooperative learning, how to prepare for meetings, how to work in a syndicate, how to operate using other people's ideas, and how to respect one another. In other words, how to be critical of ideas, not one another. The Rhodes MBA is accredited by AMBA, the Association of MBAs International. AMBA is the only professional organization connecting accredited business schools, MBA students, MBA graduates, and MBA employers in more than 110 countries. Only 2% of business schools achieve AMBA accreditation. Have a look at some of the other videos about the Rhodes Business School. We have one about the PDEM program, which you would go onto if you were preparing to go on an MBA or if you're wanting to become an entrepreneur. There's also an important video about how do you fund your postgraduate studies and how maybe we can get your employer to help you. And finally, there is a video about the Rhodes Business School. Find out more about the Rhodes Business School on our website, criticalthought.co.za. I hope to meet you again soon. I'm Matthew Lester at the Rhodes Business School. Thank you for your attention.